This is not the episode I thought it would be.
You're ruining the Muppets for me.
I tried picking a wholesome show.
Yeah, good job, Jay.
I'm never doing a show for something I love with you guys again.
Welcome everyone to S1E1, the show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just its first televised episode, and ignoring everything about the future run of that show, rated on just that first episode alone. This week we're going to be talking about The Muppets. The Muppets went 16 episodes, having only one season on ABC. Today we're talking about episode 1, Pig Girls Don't Cry, which originally aired September 22nd, 2015. So to get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me as always, Ferg, Gordo, Joe, and not Nick. Nick's actually away this week, so just a four-man crew today. What's going on, guys?
Yay!
What can I say? I'm attracted to pigs.
Hi.
All right, guys, so The Muppets. Obviously, usually I start by asking who's seen the show, who hasn't seen the show, but in general, I have to assume everyone knows of The Muppets, right? I don't think when we do this episode, we have to go over each Muppet and who they are. I have to assume everyone listening at least has some familiarization with the Muppets, but I will ask, have you seen this specific show before?
I did.
This specific show? No.
I did. I saw a few of them when it was new.
I was so excited when the show first came out, and I watched it in its original run, but yeah, it only went the one season, but we'll get right into it.
I think this is one of those shows for me where like it was on like one of the few nights a week where I had something to always do. And this is before, this was 2015, so they were still on demand, but everything didn't update right away. It might take a week or two before they'd put episodes up. So I feel like I saw a couple of them and then I just like never could catch back up because you like lose it and then the season's over.
Yeah. I remember it had a really bad time slot and they did not advertise for it, like barely at all. So they kind of set it up to fail.
Was it on the same block was this NBC or ABC?
ABC.
ABC, okay. For some reason, I had the thought, maybe it's just because it basically is The Office. I thought maybe they put it in that weird time slot where like Parks and Rec and The Office and 30 Rock, where they had that like, comedy block that was sort of maybe, I think we talked about it before, that was probably the last time that people stayed home to watch TV. It's like that night was so good. People would actually be like, no, not Thursday. I'm going to like hang out and watch this. And then maybe we can hang out like 11.
I want to say it was on Friday night.
Friday's a death night for TV.
Yeah.
I'm not positive, but I think it was. I know it was a bad time slot, but I'm not positive if it was Friday or not. I think it was.
To me, this show is a very much, watching it now, I don't know what you had till it's gone scenario, where now that Disney Plus exists and they're like kind of in control of everything and everything's very PG and sort of sanitized, like we'll never get the opportunity to get the Muppets being this funny again. You know what I mean? Or this crass or this interesting or this different. Like, I think that throughout our lives, they've always rebooted the Muppets. Like there's a classic Muppet show and the movies and the TV show in the 90s and this TV show. And they always, I feel like, pitch to us. You know what I mean? Like they pitch to like our age group. And now I think that's gone forever. And that was the one weird bummer I got from watching this today. It was like, we'll never get the Muppets making sex jokes ever again. That was amazing.
I don't want the Muppets making sex jokes. I liked it at the time. And then rewatching it for this, a lot of that was very off-putting to me from my Muppets that I know and love.
I don't know, I feel like, but they've always done that, right? Even from the old Muppet show, there was always that adult humor that was injected into the Muppets.
There was, but not like this.
With more subtlety.
I've never seen this show. I can't even tell you if I knew that it existed. So when I was watching it today, and we'll get into the certain parts, there was one part where like I could not believe what came out of Fozzy's mouth.
Yeah, mine was a Fozzy one too, so it was probably the same one.
Yeah, I think we're thinking of the same scene, but I mean, we'll get to it when we get to it.
I also have a favorite Fozzy scene, but it's not the one of them that you guys are talking about.
I will say though, I loved it. I loved Fozzy being dirty. I loved Rizzo trying to hit on people. Like, I don't know, I was all for it.
The rats were always like that. They were always like horny as hell, so that's normal.
That's true. Light the lamp, not the rat.
All right, guys. Well, it's time to get things started. So let's get right into the opening scene.
Time to light the lights.
All right. So right off the bat, we got Kermit the Frog. He's being interviewed. It's documentary style, and it's a talking head. He's standing in front of his car, and he says how there's a lot of challenges being the executive producer of a show starring your ex. One of the biggest, this is where I park, and it zooms out, and you just see this giant billboard for the talk show that they do Up Late with Miss Piggy. He's like, every day.
It's an unfortunate parking spot.
Right off the bat, well, how do you feel about this mockumentary office style version of the Muppets, this approach?
It really shocked me. What was more shocking is I didn't know what kind of a show this was even going to be. But when it panned in and he said, "Oh, my ex," and then it showed Miss Piggy, I was like, wait a minute. Whoa, what happened?
That was big news. It really was. It was
Good
in
for
like
him.
the magazine.
Good for Kermit. Good for Kermit. Fuck Miss Piggy. I'm so glad. I was so happy to see him get out of that terrible relationship.
This isn't that different than some years back when they like officially announced that Barbie and Ken were no longer a couple.
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah, it was really weird.
Well, Jay, to your point, what I thought was interesting about this is the office style was it's not too far from the plot of every other Muppet show, right? Like the original Muppet show is about them doing a show, and Muppets Tonight is about them doing a late night show. So this kind of just does all of that in one. But then what is the sort of TV du jour, right? At that point, it's The Office, it's Parks and Rec, it's all these shows that do the mockumentary style. So I thought it was a good adaptation.
The Muppets thing with Muppets is they always adapt. They find what's in at the time and they change to it. And,
right, much like how the original Muppet Show was a variety show, and at that time, variety shows were very big.
And right now they get that new Muppets Now show. That's a web show on. Well, it's not actually a web show, but it's on Disney Plus.
Right, and it'll be on Disney Plus forever, and Fozzie Bear will never make weird comments ever again, and that is so depressing.
Ferg, have you adapted to the new Muppets as far as Kermit's voice yet?
No, I can't stand his new voice. To me, it just sounds like Scooter, and luckily on this show, it's still Whitmire before he was fired, but the new Kermit voice is terrible.
There must be 1 million people out in the world right now who can do a really good Kermit voice.
And they found the one person that can't.
Yeah, like,
everybody
I don't understand why they
Kermit.
wouldn't do like a casting call and be like, everybody close your eyes and turn around and tell me when you hear the right Kermit, and then hire that person.
Mm-hmm.
Kermit the Frog here. Anyone
Everyone
can
can do one sort of, and that guy can't.
I haven't heard the new guy, but I'll take your words on it.
It's a duller approach to the voice.
Okay.
According to the producers, it is easy being green. Ah!
Yay!
It's also a different voice for Rizzo because he Whitmire did his voice too.
Rizzo's one of my favorite voices ever, too. Also, like, my favorite Muppet name, because I don't know how familiar you guys are with Midnight Cowboy, with Ratso Rizzo, the character. But
I'll
he's
tell you, not familiar at all.
Okay, well, he's Dustin Hoffman's character who ends up dying on a bus in the arms of a male prostitute from, like, syphilis. Like,
Spoiler alert.
yeah, it's a very depressing, it's a great movie. It's a very depressing character, though. You know what I mean? So then all of a sudden the Muppets were like, Rizzo the Rat. It's like, what is happening right now?
Alliteration.
Yeah, like, no, it's not about Midnight Cowboy. It's not about John Voight getting in.
So I want to get to the intro of the show, which is just like the single shot, basically, of the catering table backstage at the late night show. And you just see the sped up clip of everyone on the show kind of grabbing their breakfast and walking off. And just ends with Kermit with the iconic, "It's time to get things started." I think this was really good. I think this intro was kind of perfect for what the show was. It was quick. It introduced you to everyone, showed you the vibe of the show a little bit, and it moves on.
Yeah, I like the modernization of It's Time to Get Things Started without it being too tongue-in-cheek or too wink at the camera, you know? He just says it like he's supposed to, but then it's like if it's when the new James Bond comes out, every time there's a new James Bond, and they have to say James Bond the first time, it's always like, oh, this could go one or two ways. The people who nail it, I feel like, never are trying to be like, I'm Sean Connery, I'm Sean Connery, I'm Sean Connery. You know, like the fact that he was just like, I'm Kermit the Frog, I'm just going to say it, and everyone will be stoked to just walk away. It really helps the delivery.
Right. So now the first shot, once the episode really gets going, is all the Muppets are sitting at a large table having, like, they're all kind of having multiple side conversations. It's a 9 a.m. production meeting from what the screen says at the front. Kermit keeps trying to get everyone's attention, but like no one's paying any attention to him at all. So after a few moments, Dr. Bunsen Honeydew, I should say, he offers to help. And he just takes out a taser and just starts tasing Beaker with it. And everyone just turns over and looks. And he gets everyone's attention.
You're just screaming.
And they really like dragged it for a while. Like it wasn't like a quick thing. He was tasing him for like a good 15 to 20 seconds.
He's known to torture Beaker, but it's always like through his lab experiments. It wasn't with like malice. Like he was his assistant that he tested everything on. He wouldn't just tase him to be a dick. Like Like, here, be my whistle.
That kind of sets the tone, though, for this, really, because you didn't really get much kind of up till this.
Yeah, and Kermit asks if he's safe, but Bunsen's like, yeah, of course, I'm wearing protective gloves. As Beaker passes out.
This is like the first scene where I'm like, okay, I see where the mix of humor is going. You can be funny and edgy, but you can also be the Muppets still, right? Like, it doesn't stray too far. They're still them.
Right. And now that he has the floor, he gets the meeting started by, he addresses the band first, which is Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. And he reminds them that when Piggy starts interviewing the guests, that it's their cue to stop playing music.
This is my favorite scene in the entire episode, by the way. Zoot stands up and says, "Hi, my name's Zoot, and I'm an alcoholic."
Yeah.
To stop him.
Not that kind of meeting, man.
Yeah, because Dr. Teeth was like, he was unaware of this to begin with. And he's like, maybe we should have some sort of a meeting so we can talk about things like this. He's like, we're in a meeting right now. when Kermit tells him, that's what, yeah, Zoot's like, we're in a meeting? But that's great. Again, it's leaning on that more adult side of humor, because this is a show that you could probably still watch with your kids and sneak in a Alcoholics Anonymous joke without it being too dark.
So far.
It takes some big swings.
Yeah, it does. I don't know if I'd watch this with I'm actually like borderline. I don't know if I'd watch this with my nephew.
It's one of those, and we'll get into more examples as we go along, but yeah, it teeters that line for sure. Yeah, and there's going to be more examples as we continue on. So now Kermit's telling Bobo, who's the giant bear, that next time they do a sketch where Piggy has to fly across stage, that they need to use a cable that supports her weight. And he's like, oh, I used a cable from a wrecking ball.
Now, Ferg, you're watching the new Muppets. I haven't been watching this. Do they still lean in on the Miss Piggy is overweight jokes, or is that over?
Oh yeah, it's just it's more like the original show. It's a variety show, but it's like a web. The whole plot of it is they were supposed to have a new show and they were not prepared, so they just throw everything at the wall again.
But they make jokes about Miss Piggy being like overweight or whatever. So.
Yeah, they're the same Muppets.
I'm just kind of surprised by that.
And then next, Fozzy cuts everyone off in the middle of the meeting just to announce that he's meeting his girlfriend's parents tonight and was wondering if he should bring a bottle of champagne, which obviously has nothing to do with the meeting, but I think he's just excited to have a date and wants everyone to know about it.
Well, no, he's got a girlfriend. He wouldn't be excited about the date. I think he's nervous about the parents.
Yeah, I think he's more nervous than anything else. Nobody likes to meet the parents. That is never a fun scenario.
No, not at all.
But I do also like he used that as an excuse to be like, he was asking if he should bring champagne and then turns it around to be like, there's champagne in the break room and can I fucking take it? Which is so good.
We get a quick thing from Sam the Eagle too, with some words that he doesn't think need to be used in the episode tonight.
I love Sam the Eagle so much. And that delivery is so perfect.
Crotchety, twiddle, and gesticulate. And Kermit tells him gesticulate just means to move your hands around. And Sam's like, yeah, which leads to shaking hands, which is the first step into babies.
It's like, is that a hidden hand job reference on the Muppets right now? Like, where are we going? We're like 3.5 minutes in.
I don't think that's what that was. But he's saying just any type of touch leads to fornication down the road, or potentially. But what I liked about this whole production meeting in general, and the Muppets I think have always been really good about doing this, is they use their whole universe. Like, look at how many side characters just in the few minutes that we're being introduced to, even in like small speaking roles, but everyone's kind of involved.
Yeah, I did like that a lot, because like the side characters are probably some of my favorites. Like when they go off on those little tangents and stuff.
Like Big Mean Carl gets a moment, right? Like you have people in this here like, oh, it's awesome to bring these people in and just like have everyone's there.
It's cool. I think this is the first time we've covered a show that already has a pre-established existing extended universe. So it's like,
there's a lot of backstory.
You have all these characters you already know and love, and like you're seeing them pop up. It's not like going into a sitcom. Like, this is the first time you're seeing anything.
We'll give a little bit to The Simpsons, I guess, if you watch Tracy Ullman and Mama's Family.
Yeah.
So not as much, obviously. This is like 40 years of history, but...
Yeah, there's like a lot more rich backstory with all this stuff. What I like about this part here is Kermit addresses that they're filming a documentary, and he lets everyone know, like, oh, the camera crew wants to know if you guys can all do one-on-one interviews. So they're addressing it, because we had talked about that weeks back when we did Parks and Rec, and just the acknowledgement that there is a documentary going on.
Yeah, and I like Gonzo, I think, his next line. He's like, I know what you're going to do. You're going to bring it right up to my face, and you're going to say the same opposite and then you're going to show me saying the same opposite thing. And then it shows him, he's like, I hate documentaries. I hate interviews. I don't know. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, it's the whole, he's talking about how the talking heads are just this like device that, they keep using. And, you're going to show me saying one thing and then you're going to cut back to like outside of the talking head where I say the opposite. Yeah. And he's like, I hate those interviews. And then exactly when he's at the table, he's like, I love those interviews.
What a great plot device.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a great device. And then somebody got stuck under the bed, and then Gonzo came into the room to see if he could get them unstuck from under the bed after a while. We have our first character who's actually a search term. Give it to me. Come on.
What is Gonzo? What is that?
I think it's if your penis looks like Gonzo's nose.
No.
Yeah.
I
think so.
I don't think that's it.
I don't think that's what it is, but I'm not going to Google it right now.
I'm on my work computer. Hold on.
I got no shame. Give me a minute.
Okay, Gordo can look it up on his work computer. I've always been under the assumption that it was giant horn-shaped penises like Gonzo's nose. And then if his step-sibling happened to be under a bed, he could help them out.
You gotta make the Muppets dirty, even dirtier than they are on this show.
I was gonna say, they've already made themselves dirty. They opened the door.
Was Camilla the chicken stuck in the dryer?
Okay, so according to my sources here, it says gonzo pornography is a style of pornographic film that attempts to place the viewer directly into the scene. Gonzo pornography puts the camera right into the action, often with one or more participants filming and performing acts without the usual separation between camera and performers seen in conventional porn and cinema. Gonzo porn is influenced by amateur pornography, and it tends to use far fewer full-body wide shots in favor of more close-ups. See reality porn.
Oh.
Okay, so it's more in line with like Hunter S. Thompson gonzo journalism.
This has nothing to do with crooked dicks.
No, it has absolutely nothing
as
to
Joe
do with
assumed.
it.
Big fat crooked dicks. I'm still going with it.
Crooked flashlights.
Well, what if you see a big crooked flashlight in a gonzo porn? Can it be both?
It probably could, as long as it's up.
Probably. Yeah, there's a world where it can be both.
No, Kermit!
So, anyways, it's almost time for the show to start. We have
that was good, Ferg.
Fozzy's doing like a little bit of stand up in front of a live audience. And what I love is, I don't know what it is. Anytime you see a Muppet's legs and feet, I get a giant kick out of it. Like every time it gets me.
It feels like you're witnessing something you shouldn't see.
Right. You're like, wait a minute, but they're puppets. But this is also the first time we see Statler and Waldorf, and they're sitting in the crowd doing their customary like heckling, which is, well deserved after a really flat Fozzy joke we got right there.
Yeah, I love that they're sitting in the studio audience. Like just the incorporation of all the greater universe, and they're in the audience, not in the production meeting. I figured maybe they would be like an executive producer or something.
No, they're forever in the audience, so they're part of the Muppets world, but they've never been part of the show. They are forever there to just heckle.
Which is funny because in the original show, they're there every night. And in this show, they even mentioned, he's like, oh, they say the same joke every night. So like they hate it so much and they come back every single night.
Well, they're telling better jokes than Fozzy. Fozzy's talking about how he's there to get the crowd warmed up. And he's like, oh God, we're going to die of hypothermia.
Yeah,
and that joke lands.
That's a great joke.
It is a great joke. They're funny throughout this whole episode.
Yeah, they're never not funny.
Nope.
I miss, in my old apartment, before we moved up here, we had a front porch instead of a back porch, and we'd sit on it all the time, just Kelsey and I. It was small enough for just 2 chairs, and we would just like heckle down the neighborhood and just comment on things for hours at a time, and it felt like a real life Statler and Waldorf thing, and it was great because we're on the second floor, so
then you guys would go, oh,
make fun of some idiot in the park playing with thunder sticks, and he can't do anything about it.
Terrible, Joe.
Backstage, we see Miss Piggy getting her makeup done before she goes on. She spots Kermit down the hall and runs up to her with a few notes for him. The most important being that Elizabeth Banks, who's listed to be their first guest on tomorrow's show, they have to lose her. Absolutely not. Kermit's showing some resistance because of how big of a celebrity she is, but Piggy does not care at all and just runs off. Elizabeth Banks, this is again very Muppets, right? To inject a lot of celebrities into their show, just as they did with the original like variety show.
Yeah, Elizabeth Banks is funny, so she's a good one, right? She's just the right level of famous enough, but funny enough that this sort of worked. You know what I mean? It wasn't somebody who was too big, which I think would have been an issue.
Terrible director, though.
What did she direct?
She made that Charlie's Angels reboot that just came out and bombed.
Oh, I didn't even know that came out.
And a couple others. She did that Power Ranger movie that bombed.
That movie wasn't that bad, though. It just didn't do that well.
Bad.
It could have done better.
They weren't even the Power Rangers in it.
Wait, there's no Power Rangers in the Power Ranger movie?
She played Rita.
They don't morph until the last 10 minutes of the movie.
But were there putties?
No.
I don't remember clearly.
If they were, there was creatures. I don't know if they were supposed to be putties, but that shows how bad the movie was.
Yeah, you should know if they're putties right away. All right, well, no offense to her, but fuck her now.
Well, anyways, we got a Kermit talking head after she runs off. And he's like, when Piggy and I were a couple, I found her unpredictable and spontaneousness and quirkiness, kind of sexy. But if you take the dating out of the equation, she's just a lunatic.
And again, good for you, Kermit. I'm so happy for you for breaking away.
I don't want to hear him say things as sexy.
That's fine, though. I mean, it wasn't like overly sexual. He just thought her personality
it's
was
just
sexy.
weird. Like, that's my Kermit.
Yeah, it was weird. I'll give you that, Ferg. It definitely was weird to hear Kermit say sexy. That wasn't some like bootleg YouTube video of, someone being like,
I would like to think, though, that for fun, especially on that early Muppets show when it was Jim Henson and Frank Oz and all those guys, I imagine when cameras weren't rolling, they were constantly just like, oh, Kermit, I can't put your penis in me anymore. Like, they must have been like doing that for themselves all the time. And I'm sure the people who were there have great memories of that I wish we could see. But I mean, like, it's the cameras are off. Like, I'm sure they were having fun with that stupid stuff. It's like when you watch a cartoon show on DVD or whatever, and they have the
Thundercats.
Where's the fucking pipe boys?
Shut up, you fuck. Classic.
I can't find that anywhere.
Oh, it's still on YouTube. It's Blundercats.
Blundercats. Okay. All right.
Blundercat.
I keep trying to find Newgrounds, and apparently it doesn't exist anymore.
Does Newgrounds still exist in general?
No, it does not.
Oh, I was going to say.
Well, Gordon, I think the issue is you're looking for a website from 27 years ago, and that's probably why you can't find anything.
Well, I mean, there's web archives and stuff.
You know what the problem is I'm gonna get off topic now, but everything on there was Flash, and
Yeah.
most sites got rid of Flash.
Yeah, it would have to be like recorded in its final form. And I don't know, did you try asking Jeeves where it was?
No, I did not. I did not ask Jeeves. I haven't asked Jeeves anything in a long time.
Anyways, the actual show starts to take place. So we see Fozzy in the kind of announcer spot at the podium introducing the show with the band playing in the background. It's just really just a typical modern day late night show. And I think they did a pretty good job of like capturing that look in a way that worked.
Yeah, they really did. Again, it's like the original show, but modernized.
Yeah, I mean, the production on it was good enough that if this show doesn't continue and they just want to keep that exact set for a legitimate late night show, they could have easily done it and it wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I wonder if it was like
It almost looked like Jimmy Fallon's set now.
It was CBS, you said, or ABC or CBS.
I'm pretty sure ABC, because
I
it says
wonder
ABC's
who-
The Muppets.
Jimmy Kimmel, maybe?
Was that Kimmel maybe? Yeah, maybe they were just using one of those sets because they were like, well, it's up every day.
I'm going to my people here.
All right, while you're looking it up,
We can move on from that.
Yeah, we'll move on a
Well,
little bit. and
Jeeves
then let
figures
us
that
know.
out for you.
So as this is all going on, like moments before they go live, you have Kermit and Piggy arguing backstage still about Elizabeth Banks. And it looks like Piggy's not going to budge at all. So she just cuts him right off and then runs out when her cue starts doing her opening monologue. Go ahead. Did you find out some information?
Kind of. So this pilot was actually not meant to be seen by the public. But after a response it received at a Comic-Con in 2015, it was posted to YouTube.
Oh.
No, it's a different pilot. This is the pilot. That's upfront they did.
Oh, so this one isn't pilot?
This is the pilot. They actually made a 10-minute version of this with, I think, Topher Grace.
Oh, that is right. Okay. Oh, Pig Girls
Yeah.
Don't Cry.
So this was a thing for the San Diego
okay,
Comic-Con
so,
as a joke that went well. But this is the real pilot. This aired.
So are we doing the wrong show? Is this a first
No, because that was only a
time?
10-minute presentation.
We're doing the real, like as I say at the top of the episode, the first televised episode.
Yeah, we're not the pilot podcast. We're the S1E1 podcast.
Yeah, because if you were to go back, if any of you want to go back, like shows like Married with Children have an unaired television pilot. We didn't tackle that. We tackled the actual first televised episode.
Oh,
But with this
okay.
show, it's not a pilot either. It's only 10 minutes long.
Okay.
It's a little sizzler.
Yeah, it's like a sizzle reel to be like, they have this show and Fozzy's going to meet his girlfriend's parents. And that's kind of like I think Jerry Burns is still in it too. And I think some of the same people are in it, but some didn't come back.
And I just want to close out this scene here. While Piggy's doing her monologue, you get a little cutaway from Kermit, who goes that he says that he's living a bacon-wrapped hell on earth. And I thought, dating a pig and all, almost inappropriate to say bacon.
Amazingly, I can't believe that they avoided any sexual innuendos about that because I was waiting for it. I was like, oh, are they going to say something they shouldn't?
No, even because Sam the Eagle cuts him right off, says can't say hell. So even that was too far.
Yeah. It's the British way.
Such a good character. Underutilized.
Agreed.
The next scene, we get Kermit. He's sitting at his desk probably the next day or so, and he's talking to Tom Bergeron, the host of Dancing with the Stars, and thanking him for agreeing to
The
do
host
the
of
show.
America's Funniest Home Videos. Please give the man the respect. Dancing with the Stars is way later.
The host of America's Funniest Home Videos is Bob
Yeah,
Saget,
it's
all
Bob
right?
Saget.
Yeah.
It's
And he's announced on this show as the host of Dancing with the Stars.
yeah, he's not.
yeah, but fuck that show.
He was the America's Funniest Home Videos when it wasn't funny.
Yeah, it wasn't Bob Saget, but it was still idiots getting hit in the groin with a football, and that's still gonna be worth something.
Yeah, but there was no narration over each episode. Like, oh, how can I open this door? Oh, I shouldn't have opened this door. Crushed.
Is there a streaming service that has all the old ones?
It's the same exact clips from back then, too. Like, it wasn't anything new. It's still home videos from 94.
They were still doing new ones. Do you remember what was the show that Dave Coulier hosted at the same time? America's Funniest People?
Something like that.
Yeah, he hosted concurrently a competing show with his castmate.
Did somebody say what?
Oh man, I cannot wait until we do Full House.
This is going to be Joey Gladstone impressions the whole time. Impressions of impressions.
You could always make it your pick, instead of making Mulaney your pick, you could make Full House. You want it that bad.
Mulaney, which was last week's episode.
Yeah, well, I wish I picked Full House after watching Mulaney. Although, to be fair, the problem with Full House to me is that Joey Gladstone, Dave Coulier, spends 10 years of that show being like, I don't understand why I'm not getting booked and being a world famous comedian. And then you watch it as an adult and you're like, you're the worst fucking comedian in the world, bro. That's fucking why.
Well, on Fuller House, we get closure because he's got a beautiful family and works in Vegas.
And we will tackle both of those shows in the future, but so our Muppets episode doesn't last 5 hours long. Let's get back on track with the Muppets.
To be fair, Gibbler does sound like a Muppet name.
True. Fozzy, Gonzo, Gibbler.
I'm sure Gibbler's been in some Gonzo before.
Ooh.
I like that when
Oh, Danny!
when Tom Bergeron leaves the room, Kermit goes to Scooter and he's like, you went onto a set that was full of dancing stars and the person you asked to be on the show is Tom Bergeron. And they cut over and he's like, I'm still here.
I'm not on the elevator yet.
I'll still do it though.
Tom Bergeron is great in this,
Yes,
by the way.
he is.
He is
Yeah, he did really
amazing
good.
in this. He plays the like self-deprecating but needing the spotlight guy so well.
He made me laugh really hard twice in this whole episode. This was the first one, and then at the end, he to foreshadow it. Like he's just really good, and this is exactly kind of what the Muppets are about: is getting relevant actors, people that you know.
Gordon, I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit. Did you say that Tom Bergeron got you really hard?
It was that Tom Selleck mustache.
No, I didn't get hard. I said that it was good that he was there, and it's great that people are relevant.
Actually, I'll say that what you just said now is even further than what you actually said. But anyways, we get the next scene's Fozzy, and they're interviewing him from the car, which I really like. So you have the scene of Fozzy driving while talking to the documentary crew sitting in the passenger side.
No, real quick, Gordo, is this the scene you were talking about? Because this is the one I was talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's driving this convertible down the freeway and he's talking about how he's nervous about meeting Becky's parents for the first time. It's been a while since he's dated anyone. And he says when your online profile says passionate bear looking for love, you get a lot of wrong responses. He's like, not wrong, just, wrong for me.
Best line in the whole show.
I died.
I died.
I
If Fozzy getting into I just fucked up and said something unwoke joke while making a reference to him being a gay bear is like next level, and I did not remember that scene and was
First of all,
losing it.
I would much rather the show be him going on the wrong date because he thinks it's a girl, but it's a gay guy thinking he's a bear.
I mean,
Amazing.
spin-off show.
Why does this keep happening?
Please show up and it's Bobo. Bobo's the blind date.
Oh, sorry there, and realize that it was you, Fozzy.
That'd be actually a great, I mean, who knows if they go there, but I love the idea of in this world that one of them ends up on a weird blind date where they're both on apps they don't want other people to know they're on scenario. Like that's the kind of writing you could do on a modern, weird, sexy Muppets show. And you could never do that now because Disney has killed it. Walt Disney's frozen head will never let us see a penetration scene between Bobo and Fozzy. And I hate 2021 so much.
You weren't getting that in the past.
But we could have it now. I've been writing fan fiction for years and submitting it to the Jim Henson organization.
Did you say penetration scene.
Penetration?
Yes.
I don't think that's where that was going to go.
Technically, any Muppet you watch is being penetrated.
You just said
Big hand right up
that
there.
you will never get a penetration scene before Bobo and Fozzie. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, because now Disney's going to ruin it.
Well, to be fair,
To be fair.
ABC was already owned by Disney, right, when this came out. So,
Yeah, but this is a different entity. Disney Plus seems to have its fingers in different pies.
hey, Fozzie, I don't really like that. Can you please stop it?
2 fingers, not one.
Oh, God.
It's the bear way. See, we can write this to be
This is not the episode I thought it would be.
You're ruining the Muppets for me.
I tried picking a wholesome show.
Yeah, well, good job, Jay. You picked the wholesome show, and
You and your pervy show.
nothing but it's not wholesome.
Well, I think it teeters a line, and then Joe has run up and pushed them hard in one direction.
Where'd you think I was going to go?
I don't know if I think as far as you've been going.
I watched the show all the way through, and I don't remember it being like that at all. Like
I don't think every
so, like,
episode's quite like that, but
Yeah, maybe they're just kind of pushing it for the first one. But yeah, I saw like this one and a few other ones, but I did see this one when it was new, and I definitely did not remember any of the sexual stuff, or at least this extreme.
from this interview, we get to the actual dinner, and it's just really awkward because it's Fozzie with his girlfriend and the parents, and they're all
I
just
love
sitting
this
there.
part.
Yeah.
And then like the dad speaks up and says he doesn't know how this is going to work with you guys dating.
I would just like to point out the family here because we don't have a lot of human beings in this show. This is the best casting ever, and it's sitcom alum. It's S1E1 type people, right? So Jerry Burns, who aside from being one of the main characters in Justified, which I think is one of the greatest TV shows of all time, he's one of the main characters on Dear John, which is Judd Hirsch's show after Taxi,
Okay.
which I used to watch all the time as a kid. I don't know if you guys remember that in syndication.
I don't, but we can tackle that one week on here.
Definitely tackle that one. The mom, Megan Faye, I don't know how big into Roseanne you guys are, but there's a whole story arc where the new neighbors move into Roseanne next to their house or whatever, and they just hate each other so much, and their house ends up getting robbed, and they just watch it happen. That's the mom from this too.
I do remember her actually. Now that you mention it,
Yeah, she plays Kathy. It's Kathy and Jerry, I want to say.
Roseanne, another show we need to tackle
We
eventually.
will get to Roseanne too, but just great sitcom people to just throw into this, which I love.
Right. And I just like that the awkwardness is cut by Becky. It's Becky, right? Is she the girlfriend? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yes.
She just goes, "You can say it, Dad. He's a bear." And like Fozzie's just super uncomfortable as he's sitting there. And he's like just trying to like cut the tension. He's like, "Oh, the salmon is terrific." And it's like, "Oh, he likes the salmon. What a surprise."
This gets into like uncomfortable bear stereotyping.
Yeah.
I love when he finally loses his school.
Because like the mom's like, "Oh, we could have left some raw for you if you wanted, because you catch them in rivers." I think she's like genuinely trying to be kind of nice in this moment. She's, trying to divert from how like mean her husband's being. And he's like, "No, I actually get mine from Costco." And then the dad, this is when the dad gets into another stereotype. He's like, "What are they supposed to do? What if they have kids? What are they going to go to the bathroom in the woods?" and Fozzie loses it here.
This is a very interesting Muppets thing too, right? Because we're used to the Muppets existing in our world, but it's almost like Roger Rabbit, right? We're like, there's cartoons around us and we all sort of coexist and they live in Toontown and never the two shall sort of meet. But this is the first time where you're like, Fozzie is fucking Ricky Lindholm. Like, what is happening here? And it's causing a fight between parents being like, what if you have children? What a weird direction to take this in. I love it.
I don't want to think of Fozzie having sex.
But here we are.
It tackles it in a way that's kind of like racism in a way, right?
Yeah.
It's more like that.
Yeah, it mixed a lot of elements of being like that old trope of being uncomfortable in front of the parents, then like racism, and then like interspecies, and then they answer like the meta question.
Bestiality.
Well, no, the meta question, like if you had a kid and she brought home Fozzie Bear, you'd probably have the same questions too. Like, well, what happens if you have kids? Can you have kids?
My first question wouldn't be how do they go to the bathroom? It would be like, are they going to be bear people? Like, are they going to be like hybrid species? Like, that would be my first question, not like how are they going to shit?
Well, he's like he's a humanoid bear.
He's not a humanoid bear.
Humanoid.
He's walking on 2 legs and 2 arms.
Bears walk on 2 legs all the time.
Only when they attack.
So he was on the prowl for that pussy.
Oh, God.
We got a lot of bear jokes brewing over here.
I'm never doing a show for something I love with you guys again.
So we enter the writer's room, and now Gonzo pitches a sketch for Tom Bergeron called Dancing with the Czars. And it's the first time I think we get to see Pepe and Rizzo.
Yep.
And Kermit hates it. And he's like, any notes? He's like, I hated everything about it. He's like, oh, only one note.
I like that.
I love this too because it's was it Ivan the Terrible ... dancer?
Yeah.
Catherine the Great ... dancer. And they're making a czar joke. Like when you were saying earlier, like this is for parents to laugh at while their kids watch it. Like kids aren't going to get the czar references or Ivan the Terrible. It's so funny.
This is also the first time we meet Kermit's new girlfriend, who's Denise.
And fuck
Who
Denise.
is much like Kermit's ex,
Shots
is
fired,
also a pig. You know, she's a lot younger, it seems, by the look of her. She's a bit younger than Miss Piggy was. Ferg, not a fan? Is it
No.
only because she's the new girlfriend and you want Kermit and Piggy together, though?
I do want Kermit and Piggy together.
They have a terrible toxic relationship.
No, they do not.
No. They're meant to
The
be.
earnestness of just no, not even responding. Just no, fuck you, Joe. All right, cool.
They're like Lego parts, all right? She's abrasive and bossy. He's, easygoing.
What Lego set is that?
I know.
I mean, they fit together, is what I mean.
So yeah, Denise walks up to him and she makes a little joke like, I brought you a little Italian. His name's Giuseppe. Joe, don't your parents call you Giuseppe?
They do. Well, my mom does.
And we get a talking head from Kermit after we see her for the first time. Kermit says they've been dating for like a couple months and she does marketing for the network. They met at a cross-promotional meeting where they ended up cross-promoting.
Yeah.
Another line, we were like, whoa.
He goes, what can I say? I'm attracted to pigs.
They drank at like a meeting thing and banged. I don't want to think of that.
But they leave it vague.
I love you have such funny, succinct ways of saying this shit, Ferg. It's my favorite part of everything. They got drunk and banged. It's like, fuck, that's it. Why are we dancing around
It's
it?
like ruin the innocence for Ferg. It's just too far from
Yeah,
him.
this is really bothering him.
Do you not remember how excited I was for Muppet Haunted Mansion? I watched it the day it came out. And this is nothing like that.
Did nobody have sex in the mansion?
No.
That's because Disney has ruined the Muppets.
I like that the Muppets grew up with us a little bit. Not that any entity is supposed to stay with your age group. Like you would think the Muppets are meant to kind of stay with us. Well, Muppets always have been meant to cater to children and adults, but I want things to grow up with me. So I'm okay with
But
it.
almost everything that the Muppets have done has been really, really good. I don't know of any Muppets that is bad, actually.
There's a couple movies that are a little dicey.
Even like the Muppet Babies were a really good cartoon.
Muppet Babies are great. I haven't watched the new ones as I'm an adult and don't have children, but
Oh, there's new ones?
The new one is fully targeted to children, though. It's not like how like
I didn't even know
ours
there
had
were
like
new ones.
Spider-Man in it, and like it had like scenes with like Indiana Jones and just like references that parents could enjoy too.
Oh, you mean they didn't at one point open a door to a Nazi rally in black and white in the closet like the Muppet Babies we watched as children? Which, again, we talk about this being like, I don't know, it seems a little out of control right now. Like, I don't know. Back then it was too.
yeah. In the new Muppet Babies, is Skeeter still missing?
I don't think Skeeter's even on. I don't watch it. I've only seen like clips and shit. I know it's like a fully a children's show, like baby.
Is it like a cartoon proper or is it like modern, like computer
CG?
cartoon?
Oh, no, you gotta have the proper cartoon.
I've seen little clips. It's fine, but it's not meant for us in any capacity. So
Right. I'd be weirded out if I found out any of you watched the whole season. I'd be like, guys,
No.
if I could like sit my niece down and have her watch it so I can watch it with her, I would do that.
Yeah.
totally fine. At that point, totally fine.
Yeah.
I think my favorite Muppet, other than like the actual Muppet movie, my favorite Muppet movie is Muppet Treasure Island.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, it's so watch it again. First of all, Joe, a lot of Sam Eagle, and
Okay.
but, like there's this one scene at the beginning where like he's doing a roll call of all the pirates, and like they all just have weird names, and one of them's like big fat bug eating baby eating O'Brien, and it makes me laugh every time hearing him say that, and it ends up being like a woman, like it's so funny.
If I was to say I had a favorite Muppet movie, it might be Muppets Take Manhattan, but I
Yeah.
really like the newest, well, not the newest Muppet movie, the reboot one with Jason Segel. I thought was really good.
The one I can't watch without crying.
Yes.
I do love Manhattan, but I will say Muppet Caper is a good one too.
Yeah,
And I think Elliot Gould from last week's Mulaney is in that as well, isn't he?
Oh,
I'd have
yeah,
to
maybe.
It's been a long time since I
I
watched
think
that
he
one.
is.
Yeah, he's in one of them.
A pretty young Elliot Gould, yeah.
Gordo, were you about to say a favorite of?
I was going
of
to say
yours?
I'm split between the New York and the Capers personally. Like I like
Yeah,
them
same.
equally. Like I couldn't
The
put
classics.
some. I haven't seen really any of the new ones.
And to go back, I would say that when you look back at those early Muppet movies, they were a little more geared to adults than they were children. They weren't very animated. They were puppets, but they were in the normal world. It wasn't like very colorful and bright and loud.
I think the Muppet Show proper was on at like 8 p.m.
Yeah, it was like a variety show at night.
Like that wasn't for kids, right? Like most kids who you'd be trying to pitch that to would be in bed by that point.
Correct.
Even in the original Muppet movie, the main villain guy wanted to kill and eat Kermit.
Right. Yeah, it's way darker.
It was Kentucky Fried like frog legs or something like that.
Yeah.
So we get back to Fozzy's awkward date, and they're all just sitting in the living room. And again, it's every time I see like a Muppet's legs, I'm like tickled by it. So you just see him like sitting on the couch, and Becky's like boasting about him. She's trying to like talk him up, I think, to warm the parents up to him, and mentions how he's one of the stars on Up Late with Miss Piggy. And her mom's like, "Oh, I'm such a big fan of hers. Like she always empowers me and makes me think I could have done anything if I had made different choices in life." And like looks over at her husband, who's apparently just made her life miserable.
I love that part so much.
And Fozzy offers to let her meet Miss Piggy, and walks off to make a phone call. Which this was going to be his in, so that the parents would start to like him a little bit. We from there, you see him. He picks up the phone and he calls Miss Piggy, and she's in the middle of doing some like leg presses with her personal trainer. The phone rings, and Fozzy asks if his girlfriend's parents can come by to meet her. And I like that when she first picks up the phone to confirm that it's Fozzy, she's like, "Are you the one with the hat?"
Yeah,
like,
is this the guy with the hat?
I love that she doesn't know his name.
Yeah, this is someone that you've been close to for like 30, 40 years. 40, and you're like, "Are you the one with the hat?" And then she said that she agrees to meet them as long as there's no touching or eye contact from Fozzy, not the parents.
Does anybody here know who the personal trainer is? Because I looked it up because I was like, this must be somebody because they mention her name. I looked it up. Her name's Tracy Anderson, and she's like a celebrity trainer or something. But it's somebody I've like legitimately, and not just being like Joe doesn't know people or whatever. Like, does anybody know who this is? Like, if it was Billy Blank's Tybo, I'd be like, oh, okay, I know who this is. Or
Joe, do I look like someone who's well versed in all the celebrity fitness trainers?
No, but you look like somebody who doesn't sleep very much, who watches TV, and this is the kind of shit that's on. Because when I didn't sleep, I would watch like 40 hours of like, do you remember when songs in the 50s were good? It's like two people in a malt shop. And they just play the same clips over and over again because there's nothing else on.
One of the strangest details about me is I'm a man who is up for 20 plus hours every single day. I host a show about television shows. I watch so little TV. None of this adds up, but I watch so little TV.
Fun fact, those late night commercials that you speak of I remember being really young, and they had the Muppet Show available, to purchase.
Oh, the
on
box set DVDs?
Yeah.
I made my mother order them, and I had the whole collection of the original show. Probably still have them somewhere.
It'd be good to keep those because like shows like that, as they get re-released and posted on these streaming networks, they always cut out things because either song rights or other things like that. So when you can lock in those earlier releases of them, like usually have them in their original intended format. From here, we get a scene with Kermit and Denise again. It's late and it looks like they're just kind of finishing dinner. He's stressed out about this whole Elizabeth Banks situation. Denise informs him that they do have a pass and takes out her laptop, and she shows him this like clip. I guess it was Miss Piggy auditioning for the Hunger Games. And it's clear like when they show the clip that Piggy didn't even read the script. Like she just thought maybe she was a lock for this role. She's like, "Ooh, pick me, I'm hungry."
Can that be the next like Muppet movie they make, Muppet Hunger Games?
You don't want the Muppets to get too adult, but you want the Muppet the Hunger Games?
I've never seen the Hunger Games, but it's like Battle Royal, right?
Maybe you get the Muppet Purge too.
But they're not adult books. They're like tween shit.
Tween books or whatever. No, I know Elizabeth Banks from a lot of stuff. I do like her, but I never saw those movies because I thought they were like teenager movies. Has anybody seen the Hunger Games movies?
No.
I saw the first one. She's just like one of the authority figure people. Nothing important.
And then they just remake a new movie on Netflix. It's just like pretty much the same thing.
Squid Game?
Squid Game?
That's not
Squid
a
Game's
remake.
awesome.
That's an original.
No, but it's like a similar premise, right? The same thing as like Battle Royale. Is it Battle Royale or Royal?
I think it's Royale.
Royale.
But yeah, no, Squid Game, not to get on a tangent, but that was a really good show. If you haven't checked that out.
We need to have running counts on each episode of how many times one of us says not to go on a tangent, and then we go on a tangent for 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, but it is a good show. I would highly recommend it. I watched it all in one night because I literally couldn't sleep, and I was like, I need to know what happens.
I did the same thing, but that's just the norm for me.
Well, back on the Muppets, now that Kermit found out why it is that Miss Piggy and Elizabeth Banks don't get along, he's like, that's it, I've had it. Like, this is not a good enough reason. And he's very assertive that she's on the show. I'm not going to waver away from that. She's our guest tomorrow, which Denise is very turned on by, apparently, and says like, oh, why don't you tell me anything you want with this assertiveness? And he just goes like,
say, Denise is a whore.
she's quite a pig, huh?
Yeah. Maybe they banged at a meeting now that like this is turning her on.
Well, he had an opportunity to ask for whatever he wanted, and all he asked for was a brownie sundae, which makes Kermit the most like you of anyone I know.
See, Kermit is wholesome still.
Unless that means something else.
Do you know how many times we've debated restaurants to go to, and Ferg always pitches Uno's because he wants to eat a cookie sundae?
It's an immaculate cookie sundae.
I was going to say, but what did he say that he wanted? A brownie
sundae.
You know what a brownie sundae is,
I know
right?
exactly what you're doing right now.
You know what a brownie sundae is, Ferg?
It's when you get a brownie, you put it on top of ice cream.
After eating a delicious deep dish pizza.
Oh, and I'm going to wait till he puts his headphones on. It's when you stick it in the butt.
Oh, God.
Imagine that.
How is the Muppets going to be our most explicit episode that we've done so far?
I also just love that, like, sometimes there is joke and there's, like, work involved, and Gordo just yells out that. They're just, like, tactless and unfunny. It's so funny, though.
So anyways, from there we go, they cut to the day of production meeting, and they're going through all the notes for the show that day, and then Kermit kind of casually mentions that this is the part of the show where Elizabeth Banks comes out, and everyone's kind of like, uh-oh, because they know the situation with Piggy, and Kermit is pretty set in his ways at this point. Says that she's going to be the guest tonight, and that's that. Gonzo tells Kermit that Piggy is going to tear him apart when she finds out. Pepe recalls a time when Piggy lifted a piano just to eat half of a moon pie. So again, yeah, they lean into the fat jokes with Miss Piggy. But she's working on it, right?
I just kind of assumed that, like, with how everything is now, that they wouldn't, like, lean in on that, right? Because it seems like they're sort of trying to shy away from things like that. It kind of makes me happy that they're trying to leave at least part of the Muppets as, like, its own thing, you know?
Yeah, she's working on it. She was working out earlier in the episode.
It was her and Tracy Anderson.
Yeah.
I love that he's like got like fake muscles right now though. Like he wants to have her on the show as a surprise, but he doesn't want her to find out about it. So he's like, when she does finally show up, like he's like scared that Piggy's gonna like see her beforehand and he's gonna get in trouble.
Well, yeah, because as assertive as he's being right now, he's talking about how nobody tell her, she'll find out when she comes out. So like he's being assertive, but his plan is to just basically ambush her when she shows up in the middle of a live show.
He's like stuck between a rock and a hard place too, right? Because he's like the executive producer of this show. This show has to be good. It has to have good guests and have good ratings. But he's also in this relationship. Like they make this like a very interesting, complex work, personal struggle he has to deal with that you sort of don't expect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they did a good balance of that. I think they always do a good balance of that, where they know how to write for the Muppets' voices, but the actual storyline makes sense. It's not just all like corny shtick jokes. Like this isn't actual. You take the Muppets out of it, you can take these same plot points and inject it into an actual show.
You know what I wonder? In this universe, does the original Muppet Show exist?
Yeah, I think so.
So do they not age then?
Well, I mean, you can't over delve into it, but
well, but if it exists though, if you're like, oh, we were all on TV, we've all been on TV for 40 years. That's why Miss Piggy has a show. We've all been doing this or whatever. But
yeah,
Kermit was equally as famous on that show as Miss Piggy was. So it seems like a weird step back that he'd be exec producing.
Well,
yeah,
a lot of people do that later in their careers.
But it would like if that show existed and stuff.
But Kermit's so much more lovable than Piggy.
He is more lovable than Piggy. That's why they fit together.
But Piggy's more of the star. She's the more loud personality for the hosting role for something like this.
He could be like the Ed McMahon, though.
Yeah, but they're not together anymore, so they probably don't want to have that much on-screen time together. But I like that when he tells all of them about his plan to not tell her, Animal's like, animal think, frog plan, dicey.
Another thing, they really dropped no Swedish chef on this episode.
I was going to mention that later. He's seen, but he doesn't get any speaking parts.
Yeah.
He must have something in the other episodes, though.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does. He absolutely does. But Swedish Chef, for me personally, is one of my absolute favorite Muppets.
Oh, yeah. Gobble Gobble Turkey. You can't have Thanksgiving without at least one saying Gobble Gobble Turkey.
Feeder, finish getter.
I always wonder, I should ask anybody I know who's Swedish if that's like an offensive stereotype. Like in Sweden, are they just like, fuck that guy? How dare they do that to us?
How about this? If you are out there in Sweden listening to us right now, tell us, is the Swedish Chef racist?
No, well, too much of a stereotype, but I don't know. It's not like, those Swedes, all chefs and all. So
Good meatballs.
it wasn't even until a few years ago that I've just said he's one of my favorite Muppets. Never noticed that he had human hands until like a few years back.
I didn't know that.
During this meeting is when Elizabeth Banks walks in, and much to the shock of everyone there, including Kermit, and he didn't think that she would get there so early, but she figured she was just going to stop by and, hang out with Piggy for a while. So you're like, okay, so this hatred between the two of them is not a mutual hatred.
It's one-sided for sure.
Yeah. Because I think up until that point, I was just under the assumption that they don't get along.
For a pig, she sure is catty.
Waka waka.
Wow.
No, is this weird to you? Like, obviously none of us should know that, so I'm not asking you. I'm asking more rhetorically. But doesn't it seem weird that if you were like, okay, I'm going to go to this show where this person has monologues, they have to practice, get makeup and everything, that somebody would show up like 6 hours before and be like, hey, want to hang? They would have a pretty busy day ahead of them.
I mean, if it made sense to them, if it makes sense to her, she knows that world better than we do, right?
I guess that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ask Elizabeth.
It's like a daily show. Like, so she's, she has to go up there, do like her time cues and stuff real quick, but she's probably not that busy. It's everyone else on the production
Well, I mean,
side.
people are friends too. Like, so why wouldn't you want to go and hang out with your friend?
Yeah, like they could have lunch or
Yeah.
something.
Oh, sure. I just don't know how much time Piggy has, I'm saying, because she's got to practice monologue, she has to get makeup, stage stuff.
It doesn't seem like she practices a lot. It seems like she's just a diva in the back.
She's just on at all times.
I guess that's fair too, yeah. She
I
doesn't seem
mean,
like
she
she's
didn't
doing
even
much.
read the script to the Hunger Games, so I don't
Yeah.
think she would be prepared.
Yeah, I don't think that she really cares too much.
So she's a TV host who doesn't practice a lot, much like TV's great Martin Short in the TV show Mulaney.
Which you can listen back to if you didn't listen to us last week.
Again, we love John Mulaney and Martin Short, but we're going to punch down on that show for the rest of this show.
Yeah, it was not good. So Kermit looks over at Scooter when Elizabeth Banks is there because he's like, you got to get her out of here. And Scooter gives this nod like he knows exactly what he wants by the gesture from Kermit. And we get a talking head from Scooter talking about how, they have such a connection over the years that they know each other so well. So even when Kermit gives him just a subtle look, he knows exactly what he wants for Scooter to then ask him, what is it that you want? And I really liked in this moment, even when you're seeing like their faces nod at each other and gesture, these are puppets that don't have like moving eyes or whatever, like, and they always do such a good job of like, their emotion. They do like, it's
Yep.
phenomenal, the
Yeah.
puppetry behind these Muppets.
Yeah, you get lost in it.
There's a scene coming up later too, where I think they really nail that. And we'll get into that in a minute.
I still stand by, like, you can't have this happen, but if you had to pick like 10 people in history to like keep alive who passed away, who are like historical figures, Jim Henson's on that list, right? There's no way he's not. Like, you keep Jim Henson alive forever. For all
Maybe
he's
whatever
done.
like scientist was moments away from curing cancer. Maybe like keep him on the list.
I said historical figures, I meant entertainment
yeah,
figures.
no, for sure.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not saying like, Greg Cancer Curer or anybody, like, obviously they should live, but like any entertainment figures who've given us this much, who could give us more.
He
Jim
had a
Henson's
lot
on that
more.
list.
Yeah, he had so much more to offer.
Yeah, he was, Jim Henson himself, like, just a genius. Just an absolute genius. I mean, look at all the movies. Like, he did, the Dark Crystal movies, too.
Yep. Dinosaurs also covered on our show.
Yeah, episode 2 for us, by the way, if you really want to go back.
The only problem with Jim Henson is if we didn't have Jim Henson, we probably wouldn't have gotten cavemen.
It had nothing to do with it. Don't you put that evil on Jim.
Yeah, jeez.
For those of you who want, you have to wait another, I don't know, what is it now, 50-something episodes, but we'll be tackling cavemen eventually.
250 something episodes.
We're not pushing it back that far. So anyways, we cut to Scooter takes Elizabeth Banks on like a backlot tour to try to
Which
distract
she
her.
already works.
Yeah, she's like, I've been on sets before. And he's like, oh, it should only take like 3 or 4 hours.
I like that. This is a sound stage. I know.
Yeah. During the conversation, he asks her what she does. And when she says that she's an actor, he's like, well, then you should act like you appreciate when someone takes time out of their day to show you where they work.
This is such a great line.
I don't remember Scooter being so sassy.
I know. that line really got
He's
me.
not.
too.
He's a yes man usually.
But he was doing a task for Kermit to keep her away.
Yeah, this is for Kermit. And then so she says that she wants to she wants to head back. She doesn't want to do this anymore. And he's refusing. So now they're struggling over the steering wheel. And she just shoves him off of the golf cart. And by the way, this whole thing's being filmed like as if someone from the documentary crew is sitting in the back seat, just so you have the visual there. So you have Scooter driving with her next door, and this is all being shot from behind them. And she shoves him off the golf cart, and the camera pans over, and you just see him fly into like a table. And again, I see Muppet legs. It's hilarious to me.
They do a great job of making it look like he hurts himself, but my favorite part of this whole scene is, and after he gets thrown off again, it's the very subtle low noise in the background of him tumbling or him and moaning that sort of fades away as she's driving further. That is just so perfectly executed.
When he jumped back on, that got me too. Just like him, like he was like Jason Voorhees or something. Like he was like he had a mission.
I wasn't expecting him to jump back on. That made it really funny.
And after that, we cut back to the actual set of the show, and you see the band Imagine Dragons, and they're sitting there doing kind of like a sound check with the Dr. Teeth and Electric Mayhem. So Janice tells Floyd Pepper, who are both members of Dr. Teeth, Janice says to him, "Did you know the original name of the band was Imagine Dragons?" And he's like, "That is their name. I know, they kept it." And it's like, that is the most like quintessential Muppets style joke.
Yeah.
And it's still completely hit. Like it absolutely did it for me.
Fuck you, Howard. I'm dying.
I've been waiting to say it the whole episode. I'm so glad you did it first. Oh my God. I think of that all the time.
That's for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, by the way, that's an old Robot Chicken sketch about Janice from Dr. Teeth.
As far as I'm concerned, Robot Chicken didn't have a lot of great moments, but that one and Dusty Hill from ZZ Top stubbing his toe and going, "How, are two of the greatest moments in television history.
And Gordo, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, does anyone here like Imagine Dragons?
No.
I'm not overly familiar with them. I don't have a opinion one way or another.
I've honestly had never heard of them.
Can you imagine
Really?
dragging D's nuts across your forehead? I made it funny.
Damn you.
Thank you, Splinter.
Hey, also Jim Henson's work, the Turtles.
The Creature Shop,
Yeah.
They did all the puppets for the original Turtle movies. So also as all that's going on, at the same time, Fozzy's showing up with his girlfriend and the parents, and he's taking them on a tour like as promised. And Fozzy wanted to show the dad like the podium where he announces from, but when he like got there, he saw Rizzo was taking like that girl on the date underneath the podium because like the backlight from the podium kind of looks like moonlight. And there's some other sexual references right there too, right? I can't remember exactly what she said. What's the girl's name? I forget. It's Rizzo, and I can't remember her name.
Oh God, yeah, it'll come to me.
In any event, it's not super important. Fozzy scrambles after he sees that, and he's like, "Oh, let's just go to the desk instead." And then we see Imagine Dragons again, and they're talking to Animal, and they remind him, like, you have an open invite anytime you want. You could join us on the road. And Floyd, another band member, says that life on the road is no good for Animal. He's like, so then Animal just looks down and says, "Too many women, too many towns."
That's like the kind of adult humor too. If you don't want like crass sexual humor, that's sort of the angle to go on, right?
Yeah.
Like, what have these guys been doing for 40 years?
Yeah.
Like, imagine like Electric Tooth and Dr. Mayhem touring with Motley Crue in 1988. That is a backstage area.
That is true. So, by the way, Rizzo's girlfriend is named Yolanda Rat.
Yep.
I knew
there it
that. Fuck.
You didn't.
So you didn't know it in the moment. You didn't know it when it
I
counted.
know.
But a lot's going on at this point. And as all this is happening, Kermit and Piggy walk up to where the band are. And Kermit's introducing her to them. And Fozzy walks up with Becky and her parents all at the same time. So there's a lot of moving pieces. So Fozzy takes advantage of this opportunity to try to introduce Piggy to his girlfriend's parents. And right as that's all happening, Elizabeth Banks walks in. So now Piggy sees her and she's pissed. And Fozzy's still trying to just get the thing going on with the parents. And she just looks to him and says, "Nobody cares about you, you worthless piece of fur," and runs off. So Fozzy's like, he's trying to scramble and like salvage this. He's like, "Oh, that's just like a backstage term that we say to each other all the time." So the next person who walks by, he just grabs and says the same thing. "Nobody cares about you, you worthless piece of fur," but it's Big Mean Carl. For those of you, I don't know if you're familiar with Big Mean Carl, but he's just a giant monster. And he just punches him and he just goes flying.
I love his character too because he's not an eagle. He's not a rat. He's just a giant fluffy monster and is always just aggressive to all of them.
So now backstage, Kermit is chasing Piggy down the hall to talk about all this. And he admits that he could have handled it a little bit better, but he doesn't understand why she'd be so willing to throw this whole show down the drain over like this embarrassing screen test. And she's like, "It has nothing to do with the screen test. It was about the film Pitch Perfect 2. And because I think I never saw that. Is she in it or directs it? Or all the above?
She directed those. too. Actually, I forgot that you said that she was a director. I think she did because I have seen a couple of those, I think.
And she calls him an insensitive toad and storms off.
No, I don't know if she directed. I thought they went to see the movie, and then after they got into the fight, it would happen to be in front of the giant billboard of her.
But I do think she directed them, though.
She did direct it.
She did direct
Oh,
it.
I didn't know that.
After she storms off, you get the Kermit talking head, and he's like, "Oh, how could I forget? It was all over the internet." And now we see like a flashback that was listed as old paparazzi footage. It's the two of them outside of the theater after seeing the movie, and the two of them are fighting because Kermit's just frustrated that Piggy stops and takes photos with absolutely everybody who asks, and they basically missed the majority of the movie. So he wants her to just be his girlfriend once in a while and not always be Miss Piggy. And even like during the speech, like she stops and takes a photo with a family who was about to take a photo that didn't even ask her. Like they were taking a photo of themselves, and she just jumps in the back. She's like, I know what they wanted. And so she's like, oh, can we just skip to the end of this argument where you admit that you're wrong and you buy me a bracelet? And he's like, no, not this time. He's like, not this time. And she's like, are you breaking up with me over this? He's like, I think we just did. And this is again when I was talking about how they can emote with these puppets so well, because she's just like super depressed and like looks down and she's like on the verge of crying. And again, this is just like felt and a dude's hand inside of this puppet. And I'm getting all of the emotions from her.
Yeah. And he, like Charlie Brown, walks away too, and you get the emotion from him.
Right. And she kind of like looks off to the side while he's walking away. And that's when you reveal the poster with Elizabeth Banks there, like that there was going to be a Q&A with her after the movie or whatever. So that's the whole reason she doesn't want Elizabeth Banks around. It's this memory of the, when they broke up was all right after seeing a movie with her in it.
You said it all with their ability to just emote. Like you said it all. They've always had that effect on me, right to my heart, like the Muppets.
I mean, good for Kermit for sticking up for himself. And I do like how at the end of all of it, he goes to play to that point. He goes, no, it's not this. It's everything.
Yeah.
Just very solemnly, and just does the Charlie Brown walk and walk away. And
It was a very real conversation for a breakup between a frog and a pig.
yes, it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, it makes you uncomfortable. It's like seeing your parents fight.
Yeah.
But now that he does remember the moment, he does say, like, I really am an insensitive toad, like, just thinking about how much this is actually affecting her.
Now, here's a question for that, though. So that, and I 1,000% agree with all of you, right? Like, the emotion of that gets all of us. Do you think part of that, though, is because we're so tied into these characters? Like, do you think if you showed somebody who'd never seen the Muppets before, this is their first introduction, they had never heard Rainbow Connection, they didn't have all of this stuff in their head from their entire lives, would it read as much? Or I think it would a little, but I don't think it would as much to us who've grown up with them and they're like,
Maybe
so,
not the same, but I think
so large in our heads.
they set the scene pretty well. So tough to say. And I know, like,
I don't know. I think that would translate it, because I mean that's kind of the whole point of the Muppet is the emotion behind it too, whether it's funny
That's seeing a 40-year relationship end.
No, to you it is, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you show somebody who had never seen it before, they don't know the backstory. They're just watching, this is Muppets #1 to them.
But it was
You're
real
not watching that
action.
show if you've never seen it before.
You never know. It could have been a parent watching with their kids, though, which was the intent, I think.
but I think what I said earlier is the thing about, like, the way they write the show is it has very typical Muppet style jokes, and they're very good about writing for their voices. But the way that the show is written in general, this could have easily been just a show not about the Muppets. Obviously, there'd be a lot of changing around, but certain scenes and like that specific conversation you could have easily had between two like human actors and it would have worked. So when you write it,
I was going to say that the two people who act as Miss Piggy and Kermit are genuinely good, and that like emotion is conveyed. You don't need to see them as people. They're just so good voice acting wise.
Yeah, it'd be really dumb to fire someone that good.
Yeah, it really would.
Disney.
I mean, I agree 100%, by the way. I'm on board with you with
Is there a reason
Yeah.
for his firing? Like, it's not like an Elmo situation, right?
He wanted slightly more creative control over the character he's done forever. Disney taking them up in a certain direction. He disagreed, spoke up, and then they fired him.
Okay.
That's insane.
What happened with Elmo?
Elmo diddled children.
Yeah.
The tickle me thing went a little too far.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Turns out Elmo was doing the tickling.
Oh no. Okay.
So cutting back,
Elmo would start with a belly rub on
no.
the back, and the problem with that is the way the hand would go.
Oh, don't ruin that.
Elmo's stuck under the dryer, big brother.
Baby Gonzo.
So now we go back to Fozzy with his girlfriend and parents, and he's showing them like the kind of catering area. And he's like, oh, this is all complimentary, whatever you want. And he's like, we got peanut butter pretzels. And I will add, I love those peanut butter pretzels like so much. Like you could buy the giant tub of them for like $5.
Yep.
I love those things.
I love them, but they're so bad for you.
Oh yeah, they're awful.
Just adding two things that are so terrible for you and putting them together.
I thought peanut butter was good for you, and pretzels aren't.
Oh
bad.
no, there's
It's
so
very,
many
very
calories in
fatty
it.
and a lot of sugar. Like real, like that kind of peanut butter. Like if you were to have like Jif or Skippy or something like
peanut butter
that.
that tastes good isn't good for you.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
stuff's
basically.
terrible for you.
And then pretzels are just salted bread, which is also not great for you. Both of those things.
But yeah, so they're not impressed by this situation at all. And he's like, we're just gonna wait in the car. Like, give us our daughter back when you're done for the day. This is another scene where we got Swedish Chef. He's there.
Yeah.
And I was like, you've injected everyone in and you're putting him in the episode, which is great. But couldn't you have given him like just one line or something like, Verzi Verdi pretzels and like, just something?
Yeah, anything.
Like, was the voice actor for Swedish Chef not available that day?
Was he fired too? They get somebody new.
Burger me?
The Danish chef. It's gonna be like just slightly off next time.
That's after they leave. I was like, oh, they hate me. And Becky pretty much just confirms. He's like, yeah, they do, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how they feel. What matters is how we feel about each other. And that's when she says that she loves him, which the way that they built that scene, I assume was the very first time she ever said, I love you to him, because it had that big build up feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he just stops and goes, yeah, that's not enough. And he just grabs like this novelty mug and he goes and he's like, Carl, wait. Which I did think was a problem, because you have Big Mean Carl, who's actually the very next person you see, and then the dad's name is also Carl. Probably could have gave him any other name.
He could have been Greg or Jim or anything, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big world. Not everyone's gonna have a unique name, especially when you name one of your Muppets Carl. But ironically enough, right from there you do cut to Carl, who has his talking head. And Joe, you were going to talk about that earlier.
Oh yeah, I just love that they just cut away from his talking head while he's in the middle of it, which I think is one of the better moments of this entire show. Because he's like, hey, wait, where are you going?
Yeah.
The fact that he's present enough to be sad about the fact that they don't want to talk to him, I think is so great.
Yeah, like he finally gets a little bit of screen time, because he was talking about how he felt bad about what he did to Fozzy, but his father used to call him the same exact thing that he called him.
He's about to open his heart up too.
Yeah.
They just don't give
Run
a
away.
shit.
And then, like you said, it cuts over. The camera leaves him, but that exposes Kermit, and he's in front of the door for Piggy's dressing room. And she doesn't want to open the door for him, but he said that he's there to apologize. And then she's like, well, if you're here to apologize, and then opens the door because she wants that. And then we get just like this nice little, this is very Office-like too. You get the spy shot, so you can see the two of them conversing, but there's no camera in the room. They're just kind of like peeping through the crack of the door. And then she says like, how could you not know that like what her being there represents? It's one of the worst days of our lives. And he agrees, and he says he just tries to not like think about it very much, and that, working together can be hard sometimes. And again, this is like a very real conversation between the two.
Yeah.
And, he says from now on, let's just be honest with each other. And she agrees. And then she just kind of like takes a second to compose herself. And she just says like, I don't know what you see in your new girlfriend, and you're starting to get a little tummy, and walks off. and he's just like so perplexed by that. And I like how he doesn't even care that she's questioning his relationship with Denise. He's only concerned about the tummy comment, and he's just kind of like looking at himself to the side and like exposing his gut.
That's because Denise is a whore and she's his rebound.
Jesus.
Wow.
I love how often you've called a pig puppet a whore over the past hour.
Did Denise
I'm
like
sorry,
ghost you on Tinder? What happened?
Why is she such a whore?
I don't know. She has a man's hand up her ass
I
24/7.
mean, she was getting the brownies Sunday.
Yeah, keep trying with that. Maybe it'll stick.
Because maybe you're the problem bitch.
Oh, no.
Again, you'll have to listen to last week's episode to know what that's about. But listen to Mulaney from last week.
Laney.
But so now we cut to the actual late night show where Piggy's already made an interview with Elizabeth Banks here, and they're having like a little bit of a back and forth where she compliments Elizabeth Banks, saying how good she looks. He's like, oh well, I hike a lot, and Piggy replies by joking that she hikes a lot too, and she's hiked up her chin and she's hiked her boobs up, and then she like turns around and shows that she's gonna get her butt hiked up.
Elizabeth Banks is like, oh yeah, you need that, right? Like she throws a dagger at her.
She basically said that like the butt one's gonna take a while.
Oh, it's gonna take a while. That's what it is.
Yeah, and she was like, and Piggy was like, what? Wait a minute. But then we cut to off stage where Kermit asked Scooter if he remembered to tell Tom Bergeron that he got bumped from the show. and then it pans back a little bit, and just Tom Bergeron like, no, but I figured it out. He just walks off sad.
Perfect.
They could have still had him on the show.
They could have maybe squeezed him in somewhere. But yeah, and that's when and Scooter's like, well, I'll send him one of those nice gift baskets with the good salami. Kermit's like, just send him the regular salami. That's fine.
Why is he Rodney Dangerfield in this?
They're just shitting all over Tom Bergeron.
I've never had I always liked Tom Bergeron, but I've never been super pro whatever. He's just like a guy
you don't know
funny.
much about him. He's just a host, so you don't get a lot of his actual personality.
Right.
Yeah.
He's from Boston. So there's that.
Oh, is he?
He's from Haverhill. But I've always liked him. But now if I ever meet him, the first thing I'm going to say is just like, holy shit, you were great in the Muppets. I'm sure he's
You better bring him the good salami, Joe.
Oh, I'll bring him the gonzo salami.
Oh.
What are you doing, Step Joe?
Oh, I don't like the movie where Tom Bergeron's my stepdad. I don't like where this is going.
Giving you the brownie sundae.
Stop it.
Getting me stuck in the dryer quarter. That's never going to take. Please do not keep saying this week to week.
In any event, the show kind of closes from here, and it's just the musical performance from Imagine Dragons, and they're doing their song Roots. And as they play, I don't know if I missed something, but Sweetums and Bobo both walk up and they're like checking the inside of the drum
because
for someone.
Animal hits it and then he hits it too hard and he falls in.
Oh, I didn't notice. Oh, I didn't catch that.
But he doesn't come out the other side, and then he's just gone. So
That's why Statler and Waldorf are like, it looks like we can get away from here if we go through the drum. Let's make a break.
Yeah, like
for
that
it.
must be the way out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't. I don't know what it was. I was like, what the hell? Why are they checking the drum?
Good to be heckling again.
But yeah, that's the end of the episode. Was on the Statler and Waldorf, which is the appropriate way to end an episode.
Perfect
I
way
think,
to end it. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the
Very
entirety of the episode. I mean, guys, is there anything else you guys want to say about the Muppets in general, the show?
Stupid, sexy Muppets.
I'll always love the Muppets, no matter what they do. They're just always going to be part of like pop culture. I find in these later days they just throw everything at the wall. They're trying to get something to stick, and unfortunately, nothing really is. I think Disney Plus is probably their best thing to keep putting out these specials, because they did the Haunted Mansion one. I believe they just put out a new Christmas one.
Yeah, because I think there's not a big commitment, right? Like you can make a short run show. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You just keep it on the network, and you can try again later. You have this property that the Muppets are somewhat evergreen as it looks, because their ability to adapt.
Yeah.
Perfect word.
It makes me happy that though they've never given up on them, no matter how many times like things have failed.
There are certain weird properties, and Jay, evergreen is the perfect word, right? Like think of them. Think of Alvin and the Chipmunks. Think of Scooby-Doo, right? There are these weird things that have it'll go away for a little while, and it always comes back. Like there's something about the property that you can't stop it from becoming something for a new generation every time.
Like you mentioned Scooby-Doo, right? And I feel like even in the more recent incarnations, Scooby-Doo always feels very 60s, 70s to me. Like even in like more modern incarnations of it.
Until they're like, good one, John Cena. And you're like, all right, everybody, keep it moving.
But the Muppets, I don't know, the Muppets always feel modern and relevant. And I don't know if some of it might just be me being biased, because I do legitimately love the Muppets so much. At the timing when this show comes out, this episode right here, we're going to be into January, but we just passed by the Christmas time, and the Muppets have multiple great Christmas specials. And we talked about this on our Simpsons episode. The Muppets Family Christmas is like my favorite thing to watch every Christmas, like every year, more so than Muppets Christmas Carol.
I'm a Carol guy.
Have you seen Muppets Family Christmas recently?
I have not.
Probably not in like 10 years.
It hits all the fields. Just watch it. Guys, I know you guys are listening to this episode in January, or if you find us later in life, maybe not, but
Maybe it is Christmas time.
maybe it's Christmas time again. But I'm telling you, give it a watch. I don't care if it's not Christmas season anymore. Go back, watch it. It's phenomenal. It hits you in all the fields.
All right, we'll do. I was going to say too that to make another comparison, it's like from another show we did, The Addams Family is another one that just keeps cropping up and cropping up.
Yeah.
And that seems to be evergreen, that seems to be popular and spike, and then it goes away. Same thing with the Munsters and what Rob Zombie is trying to do.
Well, that'll probably kill that good for now.
I was hoping to get a rise out of Ferg. I was really hoping to get a rise out of Ferg. But
If there's anybody who could destroy that and ruin its integrity and make it never be a show or anything anybody wants to see ever again, it's Rob Zombie.
Thank you.
Perhaps.
yeah.
But I do love that the guy from Dudes is playing Grandpa.
And fuck that guy.
That guy rules. He's in Dudes and he's one of the guys in The Fugitive.
I don't mind that. My only issue is Lily.
Yeah.
Because Sherry Moon is a fucking terrible actor.
Yeah, but I guess we'll have to wait and see when it comes out, and I will certainly watch it. And again, we did do a Monsters episode. If you guys want to go back, you can listen to that.
I think we'll have to field trip and all go see that movie together and then come back and immediately record a bonus episode of our thoughts on it. If Ferg is alive. If Ferg doesn't die in the theater of an anger aneurysm.
So in any event, I think it's time to get right to it. We're gonna have to do our green light or cancel. We're doing it as a 4-man. We'll hit up Nick and we'll ask him what his actual opinion was, and it'll be in the graphics, which you can find on our Instagram when it eventually gets posted, and that's at S1E1 Pod on Instagram. So go check that out. But for now, just the 4 of us. Green light or cancel. Gordo, starting with you.
Green light. I don't know how you cancel the Muppets, and I don't know how you cancel dirty adult Muppets. Like, I just don't know. This show made me, it hooked me from the beginning. And then you add like the Fozzy Bear jokes, you add like the adult humor mixed with the classic humor. No, it's perfect. And I wish that it went longer, and I want to know where I can watch the rest of the season.
Disney Plus.
Oh, it is all on Disney Plus.
Yep.
Okay.
And I would encourage you to watch the whole thing, but that's my personal opinion.
I do want to go watch it all, but green light.
Ferg, next.
Look at the doubt in those eyes.
Green light. I could never cancel a Muppet property.
This is Ferg, by the way, letting bias go in from his pride. He wants to cancel it, but he can't do it. He just can't bring himself to do it.
It had enough to make me laugh. It's a good sitcom anyway. So if anything, me being biased isn't saving it, because I'm passing it as a non-Muppet show, but it's just a good sitcom. It's very well done. Like you said earlier, you can picture this being done with characters that aren't the Muppets, like just 2 people, you know.
Yeah.
Certain things make me uncomfortable. I don't like the Muppets talking about sex, but the jokes were funny. Yeah, green light.
Joe.
To the opposite of Ferg, I very much do like the Muppets talking about sex. And I do like that we have that sprinkled in with all the stuff about the actual classic Muppets that I love, right? So it's the funny sort of sexual humor. It never goes too far, right? Like, it's not, they didn't make any of the jokes that we made on the show today, which if they did, it would have been too much for me, right? But a combination of that sort of stuff and feeling like it grew with us and was sort of aiming towards us, plus the emotional feels and classic jokes of the Muppets that we loved. And again, I'm with both of you guys. I could never, ever cancel anything Muppets related. So I'll go green light.
And for me, one thing I didn't mention in the actual episode that I think is also important to mention with the style of show is the Muppets have always had a way to inject like modern celebrities into their programming. And I think doing the late night show was like a perfect way to keep it fresh with like different celebrities coming in every episode in a natural way that didn't just feel weird, so that, you know, you could sneak new people in every week. But yeah, for me, it's, I'm going with you guys. I'm the one who picked this show. I love the Muppets so much. And I do try to watch things without any prior bias, but I don't know if I can do that with the Muppets. I really do feel like without any of that, if I watched this fresh, I would love it regardless, because I thought this was a solid episode. I think the show, like I said, the writers of the Muppets, they know the voices of all these characters pretty well. And aside from that, just their ability to write just solid scripts within it and just relatable situations, it just works. So even though this is episode 1 of the show, they knew the voice of this show right away. And the show was what it was right from the beginning. And I really appreciate that, because there's so many sitcoms we cover that are just regular standard sitcoms where, you know, the pilot episode isn't indicative of what the show becomes because they just don't know the feel yet. But when you're dealing with these characters that are so timeless and evolved and established, it was probably easy for them to just know right what they were jumping into. So it's an obvious green light for me. To go back, Gordo, to what you said earlier, who cancels the Muppets? I'm still betting when we ask him and he watches it, Nick's going to cancel this show, because Nick hates stuff like this. But that is to be determined. We'll find out, and you'll find out.
He canceled dinosaurs.
You know, yeah, you'll find out in the future.
He'll cancel cavemen, like we all will.
No, it's not going to get all. But I'll say as of right now, even with just the 4 of us, it's 4 out of 4, which regardless of how Nick votes, it's enough for a passing grade. So congratulations to the Muppets. You do live on to see a second episode, but that's it. That's all the time we have for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to go to S1E1pod.com. That's where you can find all the links to everywhere you can listen to us, all our social medias. Please follow us anywhere that you can. Spread the word, let people know about us, rate, review, subscribe, do all those things. It helps us out quite a bit, means a lot. But that's it. That's all the time we have for this week. Thank you. Goodbye. Yay! Pork, pork, pork.
Brown Sunday.
It was Brownie Sunday, by the way. You messed up your own line.